Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are going to talk about a very important topic for the future of AI agents, identity, authorization, and the secure access. A lot of people are building AI agents today. These agents can call tools, access system, take actions, and work across different applications. But one question becomes very important. How do you or how do we authorize these agents safely? And in normal application, a user is usually sitting in front of a browser and they can log in, click approve, and continue. But agents are different. They may run in the background and they may need permission at the right time without something babysitting every step. This is where today's topic become very interesting. So our guest today is Aisha. She is an associate director at Architect at WSO2, working deeply in identity and access management. I am for Agentic AI, Agent Identity. She's recently spoke at MCP Developers Summit Bengaluru about client intended backchannel authentication, also known as CIBA for agents. Her talk focused on very real problem. How do we give just in minute out of band authorization to agents in a secure way? I also had the opportunity to meet her at the summit, and we have some really good conversation around MCP agents, identity, and the future of secure AI system. So, Aisha, welcome to the podcast. Really happy to have you here. Now it's all you.
Thank you, Rajan. Thank you for having me in your podcast. It was really nice meeting you at the MCP Dev Summit and then having this follow up discussion about very interesting topic. Not only between you and me, but all around the world. Everybody is deploying agents. Everybody is excited about MCP, and it's really useful as well. So Gen AI has been making very good progress within last couple of years, and everybody is trying to make best out of it. And especially now, there's a lot of enterprise adoption around it. So that goes beyond now the desktop integration, CLIs, and like chat-like interactions that we are familiar with to internal process optimizations, agents running in CI/CD, pipelines, agents running behind the payrolls, and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting times to be. And my domain area is identity and access management. I've been in that domain for almost 12 years now. So I've seen the shift from digital transformation to move the cloud to SaaS era to now agentic era. So security, identity, and access management is very important when it comes to how we deploy this agent into production, because we are working with our customers' data very sensitive to our businesses, and we need to make sure who that we give access to those systems and what data that's going in and out, and how we securely give them into the agents, because agents run in milliseconds, they process in nanoseconds, and they take like they decide and take action. So we have to be very careful when we are deploying them into production.
Yeah, sounds great. So, what you are going to show us or explain us, like, what is your plan?
During last MCP Dev Summit in Bangalore, my topic was how we authenticate and authorize and give just-in-time authorization for agents that are running in the background or long running when the user is not present in front of a browser interacting with that agent. So this is not about just like clicking approve in the client side. It's about a whole process where you ask something, your client or the agent wants to do something, and then it needs a token in order to work on behalf of a user, and then how that agent gets that token. So if you are in the front of the browser, and if it's like a chat like one or a CLI interface, then it's easy that you can follow through whole auth flow that if you're familiar with. But if you're not in your workstation, or if your agent is running in a VM that doesn't have a browser at all, or or in such scenarios, how these agents can get token securely. So there has to be, so that's my talk about. So I'd like to dig deep into that and how it works, how we can adapt it into the MCP, and what are the benefits of it.
Perfect. So before going dive into the deep, one question I have is, how was your experience at MCP Developers Summit Bangalore?
It was great. So my first my first speaking experience at a, MCP Dev Summit, and very interesting technical discussions and viewpoints about around agents and MCPs and the adoption and what's coming new and how it's evolving, because it's been there for only a couple of months, less than 2 years, but it had gained a lot of traction around that. And like having those technical conversation and the excitement from the community because it's new, everybody is excited to build something interesting with that. So that those discussions were very interesting, and most importantly meeting the people, making new friends. So that has been fantastic over the all the discussions in the hallways, and all the discussion that we had in the speakers launch especially. And I should mention you there, so you are who's been the unofficial coordinator among everyone. But yeah, it has been a more pleasant experience because of you. It's really
Thank-
great that I met you there as well.
Thanks a lot for that. And the audience was amazing in the response. And the people are very variety of the domain coming together to solve a real critical problem around the MSPs. Okay, let's move on next. So, Aisha, can you help us to go through by all your experience around the slides and the topics, and help us to go in the depth of?
Mhm. Should I start by sharing my
Yeah, please go
Okay.
ahead.
Good.
Yeah, we are good.
I'll skip the intros and go directly into the topic. So I've given a brief about this. So, but to reiterate, let's assume you build a fantastic agent that automate all your tasks and that monitors your mail, summarizes them, look into the Slack, draft emails and everything, and then you build this agent and let it run in on your workstation, and you go for lunch. And all of a sudden, the token that's already been granted to the agent is expired, and when it attempt to obtain a new token through refresh run, it failed. Now what should the agent do? It might try different things and try to uh, work around it, might consume all your token budget, or it might just hang in there not being able to do anything. So instead, the the problem here is actually there's no problem. So because standard workflows assume there's a human in front of a browser, and it is supposed to work in that way where there's an interaction with the user. So as we already discussed, at this particular scenario, when you are at lunch away from your workstation, there's no you are not there to interact. And uh, as I discussed in previous examples, when the agents are running on virtual machines or in the background, then there's no interactive UI at all. Even the use is there, and now with the uh, now the agents can run on uh, can interact with your edge devices, IoT devices. Like you can ask from your Alexa, and then it can connect to agent running in the web somewhere. So there's no browser, even the user is next to the device. So but in all of these cases, the authorization should come from the user, the tokens that the agent present to the MCP servers, that's providing all the tools and resources, has to be authorized through a user bounded token. So how do these kind of agents get to that?
Yeah, right.
So do you have any questions or anything that you like to add there, or any points that you want to clarify? Maybe you might have your own point of views as well. I would like to get that feedback also into the discussion. What have you seen when you are engaging in the development?
Sure. I will keep poking you around whenever I feel like I really need.
Okay. So one of the patterns that I've seen is that so when someone start building agent, what they do is they forget all the auth code and all the standard authorization and just mint a personal access token or a API key, give it all the like border scopes that you can think of, assuming that it will require it in the future, and then set a very long expiry time so that it can keep working, and then give it to the agent so that agent can start working on it. So the risk associated with that is obvious. Those are all against the best practices that we are talking about security in agentic domain. So that's a massively overprivileged token. If it get leaked, anyone who has the token can do a broader damage than having a very short-lived, very scope token. So what if instead, if the when the agents want some permission from you, it needs a token that, and you need to authorize that, it can reach out to you and asking for the exact permission that it requires when it needs.
Okay.
Uh, any any thoughts around that, Rajan?
Yeah, and you, I mean, as you say this particular topic, so you said agent cannot assume a human is sitting in front of a browser waiting for a click approve, and you already explained in the simple words. But why do you think these problems become urgent now? That is the question I have.
Yeah, so so one key thing is that how the developers approach it, and then it works. The previous one, like minting a personal access token or a long-lived API token. That's how we start usually, and
Mhm.
then we don't want to change it as we go along
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
works. Because it works, so why do I need to change it? That's the mindset of some people, and then it it's the same way that it goes to the production. But when it goes through the QA and when then it goes to the security reviews and so on, then it fails. So that's one of the major reasons that most of the agentic AI projects are failing because they fail the security step. But I think security should be thought at the point it's being designed, it's being built, not bolt on when you have already built it and ready to deploy it in production.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So moving forward, so there's already a standard for this. This is a already solved problem for current applications where the client can initiate the or backchannel authentication request with the authorization server or your identity provider, and instead of doing a whole front channel redirection to get into the authorization server, and from there the authorization server will send a notification to the user with necessary approval steps. So I will get into the details of how the protocol works in the next couple of slides. So the key point here is that the device where the client or the agent that's running that needs a token to consume the resource is not the same device that the user is authorized login authenticating authorizing that approval, so complete approval for. So CIBA decouples these two flows into two different uh, workflows so that we can decouple agent runtime with user approval.
Yeah, sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so if anyone interested, so there's a link to the specification. You can go and read about it. So high level, this is how it works. So client or your agents want to access a protected resource in our specific MCP topic. MCP clients want to access MCP server, so it needs a token from the user. So client directly make a back channel call to the authorization server specifying I need these particular permissions as scopes, and importantly a binding message declaring what's the intent that this a client need this authorization is for, so that it expressed I'm going to need these permissions to do this particular task, and a hint. So since the client is now talking with the authorization server, there has to be a way to identify who that user is. For that, we can the client send a hint. I will get into that in detail in next set of sites as well. Then the authorization server look at that request and validates it whether it's from a trustworthy client, whether I can trust that client. Uh, and if so, then the authorization server sends a notification to the user specifying those information about those what are the authorizations that this particular client requires, or along with that binding message that that explains what the intention of that client is, and the acknowledgement back to the uh, client, so that the client can start polling, asking for the status. What happened to my request? Has the user acknowledged it? Has the user approved it or not? So if so, please give me a token. So that's client start polling. And asynchronously, user approve that particular ask, and then in their preferred device, they authenticate, authorized, and give a full grant ask for, or subset of grants that the the client asking is asking for. And the moment that it does, the immediate next poll request from the client will be successful, and the authorization server will send a scoped, short-lived token that it can be the client can then use to talk to the server. So that's high-level workflow. But as a specification, there are more details how we when we are getting into it. And CIBA itself is a very broad specification that has many open options, so that different types of clients and applications can adopt it. But when we come to MCP, having multiple different options is too vague, and people can implement things differently, so that it'll neither give you the interoperability or the security that you are expecting for. So for when we are adapting it for MCP, we have to tighten the specification and be specific about some of the options, and be restrictive. And this is not something already adapted to the standards MCP specification. Some of the community that are in the MCP auth interest groups are looking at this and proposing this as a optional extension to the MCP. So if you're familiar with, in addition to the core MCP specification, now there are several sort of MCP extensions that are growing their own. So this so we are discussing whether this could be a candidate there as extension, so that people can optionally opt in for that. And if your authorization server doesn't support it, or if your client doesn't need it, so you can opt out and not use it at all, and then gracefully fall back and use the standard outflow. And SIBA should be for confidential clients only, so we should know who are the MCP clients that are making this request. And at least client should authenticate themselves with a client ID and a client secret. And I will get into some of the other restrictive use of different options next come slides, so that we can make it more securely in the MCP ecosystem. So we'll start with how we bootstrap this whole thing. For MCP specification has a way of discovering clients, resource servers, and authorization servers. And there it defines in the client ID, client resource server metadata and authorization server metadata, what are the supported auth mechanisms. So SIBA can be added there so that the clients can discover that particular MCP interaction is supported over SIBA. And then, as I mentioned, client registration can be through DCR, pre-registered client, but has to be confidential clients that can validate and prove their authenticity. And then for the communication between the authorization server and the user, there has to be established a link on the email, trusted email, mobile, or their devices. For example, if it's me, the request should come to me, not to someone else. So that trust has to be bootstrapped. It's out of bootstrap before we start. And then bit more technical details on how the request the client initiated back channel request goes to the authorization provider. So there's this specific endpoint where you send the scope. You can send multiple scope actually mentioning what are the exact permissions that you require, and the binding message declaring the intent, and here the token. So the hint. So there are three types of hints that mentioned in the specification: ID token hint, login hint, and uh, uh, next one. I forgot actually. So it should be token hint or something, but I forgot. But here we are more interested on the ID token hint and login hint. So ID token is more preferable. That is the value of that is the ID token. If you're familiar with the authorization code grant, once you complete authentication, you will get two tokens under OpenID Connect. One is the access token, one is the ID token. ID token has the information about the user, its skipping, its identifiers, and maybe email and so on. And it's a signed token issued by the authorization server already. So in the case of like in my lunch example, so I have already authenticated once so that the client has some trust already established and it has ID token. So you can use that ID token for the downstream request so that it's more trustworthy. And uh, on the login hint, I recommend using it in the very trusted agent tick system like the ones that you are already known and running inside your pipelines that are secure, because login hint is just identifier for like an email or mobile number for the user. So if it's not if the client is not running on a trusted environment, so there's a possibility that someone can try to spam the user and request. So that's the difference of those two.
Yeah, two-way authentication is really helpful in that kind of.
And then, so the author validate the request and send this acknowledgement for that particular request. This is the reference ID or request ID. So you can use this to keep polling and asking for what's happening. And it has expiry time and suggestion for interval, because if there are many clients and they start polling like in milliseconds, so then the server is going to get bombarded. And if there's no expiry, there's so then again like a client can be indefinitely polling the system. So those are security mechanisms and some ways of handling this async request from the client to the server. And then the polling, as I mentioned, so should honor uh, the recommendations given by the auth server on the expiry time and the polling intervals. And now this is where the closed branch. So client keeps polling and the user gets a notification, and these two work on their own clocks. Here is also there's another important point I want to highlight. There are three modes of delivering tokens to the client in CIBA: poll, push, and ping. Poll is the client keep asking. Push is so client send the request and forget about it. And the authorization server send once the full once the user completes the grant, push a token to the client. And thing is that once the user completes the grant, it says that now it's done. You can ask me for a token. But the both cases, then the client has to open up a secure endpoint for the authorization server to talk to. And an agentic system, it's not that practical. So that so therefore, poll is the way to go with in the MCP. So here's a like comparison on standard auth flow versus a CIBA flow. If you are familiar with the flow, it's same up to the point where Client make a request, authorization MCP server make a challenge that you don't have a token and send information how to get a token. And then there's a client and authorization server established some level of trust. So if you are not familiar, if anyone in the audience is not familiar, I highly recommend you go and look at the auth specification and then you'll get more hang of it. And this is where the flow changes. In the standard authorization code run flow, client will generate a token including client's information and port challenge and those information and specifying what's the resource uh, that it requires to access. And through a browser redirect, it will go to the authorization server. And then authorization server then uh, send a redirect again to the user with a UI to log in and put their credential and give the consent and so on. And once it's done, again through the browser redirect, it will send the authorization code back to the client. So this whole thing is very interactive, and then use client has to open up some callback endpoint to receive the auth callback, and then client use that auth callback and cloud verifier and other information to talk to the token endpoint and get a token. The difference on the right side with CIBA is that instead of relying on browser-based redirection, client directly make a call to the authorization server, and authorization server take care of sending the notification with how to authorize this request to the user, and then response to the client on calling to the server on that regarding that particular request, and the user directly interact with the authorization server and completes it, and then immediate next call will be successful and client will get a token, and rest of the flow is same. So then client can start communicating with the server now that it has a valid token. So yeah, that's the difference. So that small difference enables you building different type of agents in your enterprises because these two flows are now decoupled and decoupled.
Yeah.
So anything, any comments, any?
Yeah, I mean that's a very good explain already. I mean the kind of the question popping around, you already explaining them so well.
Mhm.
Yeah, please carry on.
Yeah. So there are edge cases and threats associated with that particular scenario as well as with any standard or any protocol. And we should look at ways of mitigating them as well. And of course, there are mitigation capabilities. So one thing is this spam and fatigue, which is already there with the MFA bombing. So when we are doing MFA, like we keep getting no like second factor validations, and that's really hectic and frustrating. So here also that can happen, as I mentioned, if the client is compromised, that there's a possibility that the attacker can keep spamming the user, assuming someone will click on the link. And the other thing is that when the user is getting frequent request asking for consent, then the user
Yeah.
tend to like approve everything without reading them. So that's human nature. So instead of for to mitigate that, the authorization servers can batch these requests and cache already given authorizations, and then act upon that so that the user is not continuously pinged with those requests. And account enumeration, I talk about it, opt-in for ID token hint, so that the trusted clients are the ones who can request on that. And then, of course, other hint can be used in secure environments. And the binding message, that's where the agent's intent is declared, and someone in the middle can tamper with it so that we can use by signed messages. So, or anyone in the middle cannot tamper with that. And if the user's device is compromised, one can approve it without being the real user. For those cases, in the authorization for there can be multi-factor validations, or there has to be revocation mechanisms that if we identify a breach, we can instantly revoke them. And with this pattern, something very common is that user is not available. So if it's email, I might not have seen get the email notification, or my phone battery is or phone is out of battery and I didn't receive the notification on time. So for those cases also, instead of keep sending notification to the user, there has to be mechanisms to queue these requests and gracefully degrade if the user is not responding. So where these can be applied, so I already covered these in CI/CD pipelines. Uh, a particular example would be if now if we have employee agent to orchestrate all the deployments when in a CI/CD pipeline, when a build completes, the agent needs to set up a new environment so that the QA team can start testing. For that, we need approval from the release manager. So what the agent can do is, the moment the CI completes, it can it can initiate a CIBA flow by looking at the release roster and identifying the users, whoever the release manager's email, and the authorization server will do all the work done, and release manager can get a notification and approve it. And upon approval, the agent can continue the deployment. On the other side, it's more of a consumer facing example, where if uh, where a user is asking for upgrade which is not available at the moment, so then it can say, schedule it when it's available, please do the upgrade. In such cases, if agent see there's a opening, agent can start a bar flow. There it can use the ID token hint because the user is already authenticated with that agent and has a ID token, and then completes the so one thing about ID token hint is that the specification supports using expired ID token, so you can keep using an ID token that you have obtained some time ago because it's valid, even if it's expired. So like this, there can be many use cases, but I can talk about what's it's really useful. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, the last in the hospitality industry is really something is needed. I mean, there is a lot of people at the end time or maybe at the on the flow, they really need to upgrade or downgrade or rescheduling. So yeah, this is one of the use cases that is really critical in that hospitality industry. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exactly I have in next in line,
Oh, okay.
and like the demo. So yeah, so for this demo, I have a sample flight booking system. Plus, I'm using this open source identity platform that I am contributing to, and it has been initiated at WSO2, but we are in the process of donating into open source community, uh, the UID wallet community. And so this agent, this Thunder ID, I should mention a bit about it. So WSO2 is coming from a very open source background. All our product stack is open source, and we have a so the platform that I am working, she is based in WSO2 Identity Server. It's been there for about uh, 10-15 years now, and we have taken all that learning into building this new IAM platform, which is natively built for the agentic era because it's very new. It's a high weight Go based platform. The most important thing is that instead of bolting in these identity capabilities later on, we are building it ground up so that it's more useful for the more usable, the way how the agents work, the way how agents need access and identity management.
Okay.
Um,
Great. Let's see the demo.
yes, let me share the full screen. Oh, Um, this is a hospitality example. So we are very used to this kind of website where you can go and interact with the UI to do the bookings, and
Yeah.
stuff, right? But now with Gen AI, earlier also there were chatbots, but those were giving more predefined answers. But with Gen AI, we have chat assistants that we can like engage with in natural language and get everything done end to end without needing to go through the UI clicks and so on. So I will ask. I'm already logged into the web platform, but here now I have AI assistant as a concierge. And now I'm going to use that one for this particular scenario, and I will ask. Why I can actually ask the same thing. Here, find flights to Singapore. Um, Hold on. The reason I'm showing this particular set is that um, so I haven't, even though I am logged into the platform, I haven't authorized this agent. I'm just asking very public information from that.
Okay.
Here, this agent is now authenticating on its own credentials to the backend because it doesn't need any context about me. But let me ask something about find my existing booking. So this is beyond CIBA, but I would like to cover that, assuming that it'll be important for anyone in the audience. That
Oh, that is great.
Yeah. So what happened here is that the previous queries that I asked, agent could find it or there by own, right? It didn't need my authorization. Those are available to those can be made available to the agent. But here now I ask for my booking. So then it requires my authorization. So that's the interactive authorization. Then I can authorize it. So it asks for set of permissions. I'll leave that. And this is this consent screen that asks says that this Wayfinder concierge is asking for these particular permissions
And
that it can ask.
you can select like what do you want to give,
Yeah,
what do you want to not.
yeah,
Okay.
I can. Yeah, if I don't want it to do anything on top, any changes on top of my booking and only read, I can deselect them.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, so then if I manually go to my bookings, so I think I've been that token has been expired, but it says that there's a booking for me from Colombo to Dubai already there. So I've been logged into the system since the beginning of this session, so that's why the way UI is not working. But since I just authorized the agent, it's working.
Okay.
So when I can ask for upgrade to business class, what it says. So it says it's possible for extra cost, but at the moment there are no seats open. So would you like to schedule some? Well, I'll say yes because it's not there, but I still like to get an update.
Yeah. So it can real time go and validate everything is the availability and come back with the
Yeah.
answer.
So that's what exactly happened.
Yeah.
So if I go to the architecture of it, so let me just show you. So this is my backend. So it has the REST API. So the like usual web interface can talk to, which is this front end. And then same capabilities are exposed as MCP so that the agent can talk to. And this is the agent that's running. So those are all four components. So going back now, I can actually. So I asked it to make a upgrade when it's available. So I can simply close this and even sign out so that I have no interaction with it yet. But for just for the moment, I will look back and show you how things work in sync. So in my
Mhm.
bookings, there's already a booking Colombo to Dubai under the economy for this price. But still, I can log out and go away. And now I will show how the still the agent is running in the background even I logged out. For to simulate the business class seat availability, I have a script that's running. That will free up some of the seats. And at the meantime, to show this asynchronous mode, I will I have my mobile here in the screen.
Hmm.
Oh, this is my mobile, so you can see it's
Yeah.
big.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will now go and free up some lights um, directly in the database. So now agent is still in the running in the background, and it should send me something. It's- I am supposed to get a mobile notification, but Twilio is giving me a bit of surprises. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it's not.
That is where we live. Demos sometimes don't work, but see.
Okay. So if you, yeah, it's here. So you can let me go to this exact read. You can see I just got a notification here in my
Yeah.
mobile, and I will follow through it. So it says web find agent is going to upgrade my uh, what- booking, whether I want to do it or not. So I can do approve, and it will directly take me to the identity provider with Thunder that I'm using, and it asks me to provide my password, and then I approve it. And it also then asks for that specific permission. So here I want it's asking for upgrading, not for all the other permissions. So
Hmm.
I will approve it. Now it's successful. And if I go back to my web view and refresh it, you see now it's been upgraded. So, but we didn't have to be in the UI. Everything happened on my mobile. For the demo purpose, I had both
No,
side by
I mean that's still great. So let me reprocess and simplify for the people who is watching.
yeah.
Um, that is great. Like you did a booking, and sometime you leave in the middle of, and the agent still function in the back end, and because you are not on the screen, it send a notification on any third party configuration like your email or the notification, and then you give a approval, and the based on like the task, and it get executed done, so you really don't have to be stay on the browser all the time.
Yes,
That
exactly.
is amazing.
And that whole communication is secure because it's not that client sending anything to me. If you say, oh, it's my authorization server that all I already trust doing that orchestration. So client talk to the authorization server with, in that case, the Thunder ID that I've been using, and I trust my Thunder ID. So similarly, that you trust Google, your Google login, so and your enterprise's login account. So it's very secure. The whole end-to-end flow is very secure. Yes.
Wow, wow, that is so amazing.
Mm.
So let me ask this way: for someone suppose new to the IAM, so
Mm.
how they should understand that what exactly the problem statement for them is, so it's easy to understand. I know IAM is a very complicated topic, and somebody who is very new to the IAM and still wants to work with agents, and
Mhm.
that demo was giving pretty good idea, but still from your side, if it's somebody who's new with the IAM, how they should take some quick learning path, and how exactly they need to understand them.
Yeah, so that's one of the questions that I get asked by many as well because it's a bit complex, and it's very important part of it. So and domain itself is very broad, so there are a lot of
Yeah.
specification and so on. So I'll recommend with starting with the basics of IAM, and especially for this MCP community. So there's in the MCP specification, there's a specific part for the authorization. So I know you are familiar with that, but that's a good starting point. Sequence diagrams and everything. just glow about how the current MCP authorization works. So if you must start mastering it, so that's based on OAuth 2.1.0, which is a already established OAuth standard. And from starting from there, you can go into different other uh, patterns and standards that's there. But yeah, and a lot of online resources as well. And of course, with Gen AI, you can like open up a Chat GPT instance or Cloud instance and ask it to teach you. So that'll be a very
Yeah,
one.
nowadays that is a very quick way to learn something. Yeah, okay. And if somebody wants to give it a try, like the demo you did, is there any option for the people who would like to give it
Yes,
a try?
yeah, we have that particular demo in the in Thunder ID samples sample. So I can share that, so you can try out Thunder ID and this particular demo along with many other security application security demos. I'll share the links.
Perfect. So I will craft a article for you guys, and I will help you to get through the demo and do the hands-on from yourself. So that was amazing session, to be honest, Aisha. And I mean, you working deeply in identity and agentic AI, but I have a question for you. So, what excites you most about the space right now?
So as I mentioned, so I've been there in this, like the first started the digital transformation where the people were trying to digitize everything. Then they moved to cloud, and then the SaaS came, and now the agentic era. So what's exciting is that changes that's happening, and like compared to all those changes, now this agentic era is rapidly changing, right? Overnight, you have something new, like and there are so many things going on, and even if you take like MCP for example, at the very first release of MCP, authorization was not even considered, but immediately after that, it had some, but there were like couple of very recent releases, spec releases enhancing that. So people are trying to realize and people are investing on that, and that means it's being adopted as well. So that's really exciting how things are moving fast, and everything is new as well. Every day something new to learn, something new to discuss about, and some new problem to solve. So it challenges ourselves as well. So we have to think new ways of solving this problem based on the foundational knowledge that we have.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing, Aisha. So one of the learning I have in the past, like you, so some people may be wondering like why they really need to understand depth in the IAM or why they need to concern about the security. So my take on this is technology growing so fast, and as great power comes with a great responsibility. So we are the people who holding the power nowadays, how technology will grow, and that is also our job to make sure everything is secure around. And I am the authorization, authentication, kind of like the baseline that everybody really need to understand and start using it. Imagine you have an agent running on your laptop, suddenly you drop down on a table to get something done and see what can happen. So there's a lot of critical scenarios can come in the picture, and the Aisha, like you explained, it's going to solve a lot of big challenges, and I really would like to see more what you get to the people. So I'm really amazed the way you have been explained and solving very critical problem. Thanks again, Aisha. Thanks a lot for explaining so detailed. So, guys, if you have any question around identity, IAM, or anything, please drop a comment. I will add more context around how you can connect with the Aisha. Her all the LinkedIn profile and everything will be available here. And she is one of the greatest mentor I know. So feel free to ask anything. I'm sure you gonna love the answers.
Okay, thank you very much for having me in this podcast, Rajan. It was lovely meeting you, lovely talking to you, and having this opportunity to discuss the topic in detail. So gave me a lot of time to go through the demo in detail as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Aisha. Thanks a lot for joining us. Okay, guys. So you have we met just Aisha. Aisha is amazing and working a lot around the IM, and I will keep getting more and more resourceful people with you. and I'm trying my best to learn from all the industry experts with you. So please be in the touch. We will keep connecting and keep growing. Till then, goodbye.